But the angle is different this time. It's all told by an alien scientist watching us make our, let's call it, dramatic entrance onto the galactic stage.
Exactly. Forget the usual perspective. This deep dive gives you this really unique viewpoint. You're watching humanity kind of stumble into this vast, established galactic community. So our mission for you today, really grasp how unexpected this whole thing was. The surprises, the shockwaves it sent out. Get ready for some moments where you just go, wait, what?
Okay, so let's set the scene. Our narrator, right, an alien scientist, part of this federation that's been around, what, 7,000 years? 9 galaxies?
Yeah, the old hands, basically. The seasoned pros of meeting new species. And our scientist is 112 years old, which is apparently pretty young for them. They're on the initial assessment team.
Their job?
Simple. Observe. Gather data, evolution, culture, the works. Figure out if a species is going to be a good neighbor or, a problem.
And what was the first take on humans?
Well, tall, kind of gaunt, but heavily built. Makes sense, coming from a high-gravity place. And a history. Well, like lots of others, full of conflict. Pretty standard stuff, really, for their records.
Right. Nothing too out there, except one thing did raise a flag, a big one.
The speed.
Yeah, the speed and just the sheer variability of our tech advancement, especially in the last, 250 years?
It wasn't just catching up. It was like we hit hyperspeed, blew past almost every other species they'd ever logged in that kind of time frame.
Okay, so here's where it gets good. The Federation, they had a system, a first contact playbook refined over millennia.
Oh, yeah. Totally standard procedure. Big ship shows up, looks impressive, broadcasts the friendly message, maybe offers some tech, cures a disease.
Standard welcome package.
Pretty much. Then the invite. Come join the Federation. Ambassador Shah Khan, he'd done this countless times, felt confident. Routine.
Well, 7,000 years of it working does tend to make you feel pretty secure, I guess.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
Their whole approach was based on them having the advanced stuff and the new species usually needing help, right? Technology gaps, societal problems.
Made sense. A peaceful trade seemed like the obvious outcome.
Almost inevitable. But humanity, as this transcript makes very clear, was about to throw a massive wrench in the works.
You could say that. And that wrench detonated, the Sarajevo incident. Our observer, cloaked, felt it first. This thunderous ripple just washing through the system.
It's subtle.
Not at all. Then alarms everywhere, abnormal radiation, warnings about a psionic cascade like a psychic tidal wave, totally unpredictable. Even their cloaking started failing.
Which shouldn't happen.
Right. 7 hours later, they finally get visuals back, and the whole peninsula in Italy near this place, Sievo, gone.
Just gone.
Yeah. Smoking crater and this huge swirling cloud, purple and blue. Look, bad doesn't cover it. Ominous, maybe.
And the scale. The immediate loss of life.
The transcript estimates a bare minimum of 400 million humans in that one moment. Yeah. The Federation crew, utter disbelief, you can imagine. Frantic scans, trying to pick up transmissions. Lots of debate inside the ship, should we intervene now?
But cooler heads prevailed for a moment.
The ambassador, Shah Khan, and the captain were cautious. They needed to understand what could do that.
Understandable. Meanwhile, on Earth.
Predictable, right. Panic, everyone pointing fingers. But the really weird part came just 2 days later.
This is where it goes off the rails.
Totally. They detect this psionic signature coming from what was left of Italy, and it's immeasurable. So strong, it just fries a chunk of the Federation sensors.
Fried the sensors.
Yeah, blinded them in that area for weeks.
Yeah.
And get this, Jupiter, the planet Jupiter, visibly changed color, turned red and pink.
The whole planet.
Apparently. Then Ambassador L.K. Etjan, she's a Coronaut telepath.
Yeah.
And the Coronauts, huge reputation, powerful psionics. One skilled one could supposedly influence a whole city.
Okay, so a heavy hitter, psychically speaking.
Definitely. And she just collapses, screaming in agony, needs heavy sedation, restraints, the works.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, that was the moment. Federation Command looks at this and goes, okay, standard procedure is out. Intervention was happening, but not the kind they planned.
Right, this wasn't a standard uplift scenario anymore.
Not even close. So about a week passes. They get some scanners working again, try to detect psionic entities. What they find is just nuts.
How so?
Only 834 individual humans showing up psionically. But each one had the psychic power equivalent to 500,000 Coronauts.
500,000 per person.
That's what it says. The scanners just overloaded again, couldn't handle the data dump.
Mind-boggling.
And while the Federation is reeling from that, they completely missed something huge happening on the ground.
What was that?
A full-scale invasion of Italy. 20 million soldiers pouring in right into the middle of the psionic chaos.
Oh, man. So the emergence of these powers, it wasn't smooth.
And catastrophic is more like it. Random genetic mutations popping up, widespread insanity, reports of, well, things that sounded like undead creatures.
Undead. Seriously.
That's the implication. Planet-wide communications just dissolved into chaos, different languages, electromagnetic storms, psychic distortion everywhere. It led to this brutal war, 17 months. 7 million soldiers dead.
A violent birth, then, for these abilities.
You could definitely say that. Okay, fast forward 2 years since Sarajevo. The Federation finally shows up properly. Not one ship, but a massive fleet. Battle cruisers from 187 star nations.
Just take a statement.
A big one. But even as they arrive, the coronauts on board are agitated, still feeling this residual psychic noise from Earth.
And Italy itself.
A void. Just that massive crater. No people, no background radiation, like it was wiped clean.
Spooky. So the first meetings must have been tense.
Understatement. Extremely tense. But the Federation projected peaceful intentions, and the human armies eventually backed off, maybe a bit confused. That helped.
Who did the Federation send down initially?
A carefully chosen group. Fleet Admiral Kanoha, Ambassador Shan, Ambassador Olari, yes, the same coronaut who collapsed earlier, and Grand Admiral Urias.
Why them specifically?
Appearance. They all looked relatively human-like. An attempt to, lower the strangeness factor a bit. Makes sense. Smart move.
So they start the initial info exchange, setting up a proper face-to-face meeting. And our narrator, the scientist, they're there as a data handler.
Still observing.
Always observing. Interestingly, the narrator mentions kind of enjoying human company, despite some sensory challenges. But then they notice something during the preparations.
What's that?
The human delegation is diverse, sure, but there's talk of a fifth ambassador who isn't there. The narrator asks about it.
And the reaction?
Nervous, evasive, glances between the humans, vague excuses about prior commitments, clearly hiding something.
Okay, intrigue builds.
And then, a month later, the fifth ambassador shows up. And the arrival, it's described as just astonishing.
How so?
This person radiates energy, so much raw power that the transcript says it could pacify a Klaxian horde, and the Klaxians are apparently really aggressive.
Okay, so not your average diplomat.
Not even close. Humanoid shape, but striking. Piercing gold eyes. And these two large, articulated, bladed wing bones coming from his back, sharp enough to cut starship hulls.
Wing bones, like actual wings made of blades.
That's the description.
Yeah.
Articulate, too. And he wore this ornate mask he made himself. Just gave his name as Fade. Simple.
Fade, okay. And his demeanor?
Cautious. Kept those blades sort of ready, even during the initial greetings. Took a while for him to relax, apparently at a later banquet.
And our narrator, the scientist, sees an opportunity.
You bet. Curiosity wins out. They ask Fade about the Federation being there 18 months earlier during all the chaos after Sarajevo.
And Fade's answer?
Chillingly direct. He says he heard Ambassador Olari's screams, the coronaut telepath.
Heard her screams. But from where?
From his home planet, across interstellar distances.
Whoa, okay, that changes everything.
Absolutely. That's the moment the Federation really got it. Humanity wasn't just another species. They were something else entirely.
So the next 50 years, a massive shift.
Unprecedented transformation. Humans spread out, colonies mixing with other species. Trade explodes, diplomacy gets complex, and Federation tech, it leaps forward.
How much?
The estimate is 500 years of advancement in just 40 years. New star drives, quantum computing, game-changing stuff.
Driven by human innovation.
Heavily influenced by it, yeah. But it wasn't all smooth. There was an incident, the Arakar skirmishes.
What happened there?
Trade dispute over gas giants, vital resources.
Yeah.
Got really tense. 7 big fleets facing off, ready to fight.
Sounds bad.
It was heading that way. Then a small human fleet shows up, led by Fade.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And Fade, our narrator calls it the most terrifying and awe-inspiring thing they ever saw. He just psionically crushes 7 of the opposing starships. No warning, no shots fired, just crush.
No casualties.
0. That's the stunning part. Forced an immediate surrender without killing anyone.
Just pure power display.
Exactly. But here's the twist. Instead of leveraging that power, humanity steps in and brokers a peace deal, a trade agreement that benefits everyone, creates a new, prosperous compact within the Federation.
Wow. So not the galactic bullies they could have been.
Not at all. Showed immense power, but also surprising diplomacy, nuance.
Then there was another conflict, the Coriani hive mind.
Right. A threat to a major agricultural world. Humanity jumped in, alongside allies, the Bakari.
How'd they do?
The Bakaris were heavily armored, resilient humans, much more vulnerable physically. They took massive casualties, but they fought fiercely to protect civilians, really held the line. Their willingness to sacrifice made a huge impression on the Federation. This willingness to pay the price, even when it was incredibly high, they were crucial in ultimately defeating the hive mind.
So by this point, humans aren't just in the Federation.
They're indispensable, a core part of it. And Earth, their homeworld. Once seen as just another conflict-ridden planet, now it's a major tourist draw, a symbol of resilience, unexpected power.
And Fade, these sons of Sievo.
Still, incredibly rare, only 7 known like him.
Yeah.
Adds to the whole mystery and, frankly, the unique power dynamic humanity brought.
Okay, now jump way ahead, 500 years later.
Yeah, huge time jump. The Federation's celebrating its 200th anniversary golden age, peace, prosperity. They're even colonizing a new galaxy.
And our narrator runs into Fade again after all that time.
Totally unexpected.
Yeah.
They share this deep history, right? And the obvious question comes up. Fade looks unchanged. How, given human lifespans?
Right. He shouldn't even be alive, let alone looking the same.
His explanation is wild. He says that initial psionic wave from Sievo connected him to something he calls the Aetherium. Aetherium, like maybe the fundamental energy of the universe. It stopped his biological aging, changed him fundamentally.
He's essentially immortal.
The implication is staggering, that he and the other sons of Sievo might literally outlive the galaxy.
Okay, that's a lot to process.
No kidding. The narrator is just stunned. And Fade, almost casually, offers the narrator a drink, some laga, an alcoholic drink.
And the original incident, Sarajevo, still a mystery.
Even after centuries. Yeah. No one knows exactly what triggered it.
Yeah.
But Fade, he seems totally unconcerned with the why. He's focused on the results, which have been, largely positive for the galaxy.
Interesting perspective. Just accept the mystery.
Seems like it. Then the narrator asks the big one. The question probably bouncing around in your head too. What does it all mean? What's the point?
The ultimate question.
And Fade's answer.
Yeah.
It's heavy. He basically says meaning isn't found, it's created, actively.
Created by?
By the Federation, by all of them, together.
Yeah.
Their purpose, he says, quite seriously, is to etch our names into the stones of history, to define life, truth, reason, maybe even become the architects of the next universe.
Architects of the next universe.
Yeah. He says there's no inherent God, no ultimate truth, no preset reason yet. Because it's their job, their destiny to make it.
That's cosmic level ambition right there.
Absolutely. And then Fade does something even more incredible. He offers the narrator the chance to join them, the sons of Sievo. A single drop of this thick golden liquid falls from his bladed wing bone into the narrator's drink.
Whoa.
And Fade is very clear. This is a choice, a conscious one. You have to understand the implications. You're planting a tree, but you'll never sit in its shade. You won't see the end result.
A profound choice. Sacrifice for a potential future you won't experience.
Exactly. And faced with this, this almost unimaginable offer, this chance to align with these beings and potentially reshape reality.
What does the narrator do?
Drinks without hesitation.
Oh, yeah.
Accepts the transformation.
Wow. Okay. So let's wrap this up, the key takeaways here.
Well, first, humanity's arrival was nothing like expected. This unforeseen, violent psionic awakening just shattered the galactic status quo.
Yeah, what should have been routine became galaxy-altering. Showed off this insane level of human psionic potential.
And triggered this incredibly rapid evolution in Federation tech and even its politics. Everything changed.
The aha moments are pretty stark, aren't they?
Definitely. That contrast between the plan and the reality, huge. The sheer power level revealed. Mind-blowing. And then Fade's final words. That whole philosophy about creating meaning.
Yeah, that's deep. It really sticks with you.
It does.
Which leads us to that final thought for you, our listener. If you had that choice, the power to help redefine the universe itself, knowing you wouldn't see how it all turns out, what would you choose?
What responsibility comes with that kind of potential? Almost godlike power, really.
Definitely something to chew on. It puts humanity's place in the cosmos, at least as shown in this source, in a completely different light.
A fascinating deep dive. Thanks for exploring it with us.